All right, and we are back for our afternoon sessions. So now we're going real deep. So we talked about policies, and then we started to connect those policies to the arts and what we see as the connections. And now we're going to talk very explicitly about practice and what has happened through two different programs that have impacted schools. Both have rock stars. We have rock star presenters for you today, so very fortunate about that. Our first rock star is Adrienne Hill. She's the principal of Hedgepeth Williams Middle School for the Arts in Trenton, New Jersey. And I've got familiar with her work over the years as our work in not only arts education, but also with some arts integration programs, and began hearing about the transformation that was taking place at this middle school in Trenton, New Jersey. And as we learned more and more about it, it became amazing, or it just became apparent to me the amazing skills, dedication, commitment, will, persistence that our next presenter had. I view her as a force of nature, and I think a lot of the transformation that happened in that school. Are you going to live up to this, right?
No.
You know, sometimes you just have to learn to not take no for an answer. And Adrienne's just done fabulous work here. We've featured her with our summit that we had in 2017, our statewide education summit, and she's really emerged as one of our statewide leaders in the area of arts and using the arts to transform the lives of our students. So it's a great pleasure that I introduce to you my friend and rock star, Adrienne Hill.
All right, this is too much pressure because I was already a little bit nervous. Now I'm like, oh gosh, should I be like flipping around? Do I need an instrument or something? I'm going to walk around. I've already cleared it with the people over here because I'm not the podium girl. Good afternoon. I know it's hard to compete with lunch, get a little comfortable, so I need to move around too. I first want to talk to you, just give you a little bit of background about my school. So Hedgepeth Williams Middle School of the Arts, formerly just Hedgepeth Williams Elementary School, and then Hedgepeth Williams Middle School. I was vice principal there for 4.5 years, about 10 years ago. And then I spent 5 years at other schools in the district and returned as the principal. This is my 4th year back. In those 4 years, this is my 4th superintendent. And so each year the conversation has been the same, though. Basically, this budget that you're giving me does not support my dreams for the school. And I don't know what we're going to do about it, but I had to be really creative in how we were going to move the school forward. When I returned to the school, it was in pretty bad shape. The chronic absenteeism rate was about 53%. The staff attendance rate was not very good because the students were not doing well. Literally, I felt like people I had known for years and years were like the walking dead, primarily just literally walking and getting through. And I said, what happened here? Like, we left the school and I felt we left it in good shape and ready on an upward trend. And I just studied the school for a while. I came by, kind of a stalker. Once I knew I had the job, I just kind of I staked it out. In the mornings, I watched how arrival went, how the students were traveling. My school could run itself at that point, which is why I needed to move on and kind of expand where I wanted to go. And that was at the high school program, Visual and Performing Arts, which is perfect. I had always wanted to have a middle school feeder to the high school. That was my goal. We don't have anything in the middle school. The middle school is the middle child, and that's exactly what it is. So I began looking at ways that we could change how the students felt about the school, how the staff felt about the school where they worked. And the fact that I still knew people there meant that they really cared about the school. Because in all of that turmoil and I think there were 6 or 7 principals in the 5 years that I was gone. So the fact that they remained there says a lot, and that's what I told the committee when they were hiring me. You don't have to choose me, but you need to choose somebody who cares about this school and these people, and for all the work that they've put in to know that they really believe that this school could be a success. We began, my background is in theater. I have a degree in theater from Mason Grove School of the Arts. And so I sing professionally, and it was always, I'm going to be an actress, singer, teacher, and lawyer, and I just gave up on law school. But I felt like the arts could really save lives here. So trying to figure out why students aren't coming to school and why they don't want to be here and why aren't teachers showing up, I just did a little survey. I asked my kids, hey, listen, the school's in bad shape. We need help. What should we do about it? What do you have some advice for me? What programs do you want to see? What kinds of things would make you come to school and want to be here? And the arts was overwhelming. And I was like, great, this is confirmation of what I was already thinking. Then I asked the staff, what would make you come to school? Like, what are the things that keep you from wanting to be here and doing the thing that you love to do? And the arts wasn't top on the list, but it was definitely in there. So I began talking to the board and different members downtown, how could I make this into a school of the arts? And they were like, oh, I don't know. I mean, that's not really a priority on a lot of people's lists. They think it's like all fluff and play sometimes. So you have to do a lot of work to convince them. I said, oh, I know what to do. I surveyed parents, I surveyed students, I surveyed staff, and then I compiled all the data. I said, listen, the data shows, and there's all kinds of research out there that shows that the arts can really make a difference in the lives of these children. And that's what we're going to do. I wrote a resolution, and they approved it. Now, that was great, but then there was no funding behind it. There was no, it was like, Adrian, just do what you do with your crazy self, and we'll leave you alone, which that was kind of good. But I need backing and support and money. So when the new ESSA came out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is so exciting. I'm going to do all of these great things. And I went to the workshops, the early workshops they had at DOE or down at the LRC. And I was excited. And I went back to the district with all these ideas. And they were like, okay, write it up. You can do this. And then none of it got approved. I was like, okay, try another route here. I'm going to try to figure out how to do the things that I want to do and convince them that the workshop I attended on ESSA said that I could do these things, but they weren't there yet. So it took a lot of pushing and pulling. We had a 1.5 teachers in music, the 0.5 being the instrumental music program. I said, well, how's this going to work? Like, I don't understand how. So this is just exposure. This is just music appreciation, or I really want to be a viable, competitive art school. And these are some of the things that I need to make this happen. I want a dance teacher. They were like, no. That took me. I got one last year. It took me 2 years. It took me a year to get the 0.5, because every time we show up for the local budget meeting, I'm like, listen, this is what I need. This is what I'm willing to give up, but I got to have this. They wanted me to have a PE teacher to teach dance. I was like, no, I want a dance teacher. I want a dance professional, a practitioner. I want my instrumental music person to be a practitioner. And I let them go to auditions even now. I work it out however I need to, because I want them to stay current and fresh and be involved directly in the arts. So that's a little background. That's just a little, just so you know where we started. Every year we have an art show. It's a big deal. We have one art teacher for the whole school. I would like to eventually, that's on my list, to get another art teacher. I am not really sure how she gets them to produce these amazing works of art, because sometimes when I go in there, the good thing is that I have an arts background, so I know there's like organized chaos, because sometimes I go in there and I'm like, oh, good God. But they produce amazing works of art, so I just support her and however I can so that she can do what she does. ESSA needs to be at the root of everything we do. And even though I wasn't even totally conscious of all the ESSA things and still learning things. But even as I'm listening to everyone speak, I'm like, oh, this is so in alignment to everything that we've done and everything that we believed and what I believed ESSA to be. So we explore, we shape, we sketch, and we actualize. And ESSA will be in the root of all of the conversation today. So goal number 1, ensuring student success, but through the arts. That's our goal. So we were able to take the school at our lowest point in chronic absenteeism. So from that 53, it went down to 30 something and then 24. At our lowest point, we went down to 6% chronic absenteeism. It was a full-fledged, all-on assault for getting the students to school. And I wasn't really sure even what that meant, because when I took on the job, they handed me a chunk of papers that said, here are your chronically absent students, do something about it. I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't even know what that means. I don't know what to do about it. But so I said, I'm going to stay focused on the arts goal. I'm going to use the arts goal as a vehicle to get my students back in school. We started asking them about their individual talents, asking staff, what do you do? What can you do? What do you do outside of here? My philosophy is always to bring yourself to work. I knew a teacher who used to do these amazing things outside of school, and then she would cross the line in school and she would be so stiff. I'm like, what are you doing? You do all this amazing stuff and then you leave her outside. Bring her inside so that you can bring the students in and pull them in. So yeah, down at our 6%, we're back up to 19% right now, but we've also increased, in 2 years, we've increased our population by 200 students, including a bilingual program, brand new, that was not fully staffed in the beginning. And this year, 3 days before school opened, a behavior program. This is our first year out of status. We are feeling it. We are feeling it, but the good thing is that the arts keep us going. It's still keeping us going. Like we have a show coming up tomorrow. But we believe that we can, again, address the chronic absenteeism the way we did the first time. It just takes a little more effort now because now we have populations that traditionally miss a lot of school. So the first group, I'm jumping around a little bit only because I'm thinking of like stories as I talk about things. I'm going to try not to talk too much. Do you have me on a timer, Kira? You probably need that. So one of the things we did is implementing all of these arts programs. So now we've got art, dance, 2 music classes. We have world language. We're trying to use our other content areas as means for our arts integration movement. We have a movement going across the school where we started out very slow, and people are at various stages of development with arts integration. Started out as arts enhancement for a lot of people, the things that you normally know. We're doing this project on Egypt, so let's build a pyramid. Versus, having arts enhancement versus arts integration, where you're actually using the art standards and you're actually assessing on the art standards too. And so a lot of our staff, they're timid in the beginning because I don't know what this is about. And if you're not an arts person, which a lot of the staff is not. So we've created this name of School of the Arts, but we have the same staff and we have the neighborhood students. So we're not yet at the point where we can audition to have students come in, which is down the road, hopefully. But people are beginning to open up and blossom and have ideas about things. And the good thing for me is that I'm a little bit wacky. So there's probably nothing you could dream up that I would say that's crazy. Like if you're not hurting kids and you're not, doing something illegal, then I'm probably going to be behind it. And then we'll just kind of tweak it and tighten it up until it gets to where we need it to be. So I'm fortunate once again that my district kind of lets me do that. They're just like, she's so crazy. I don't even have time for her. I don't have energy for all of that. So they leave me alone and we just create things. So our improved climate and culture, that was one of the things we needed to do. So we're using the arts, having shows, getting parents out to come see, like it was said earlier, parents want to see their kids perform. They want to see that. They want to be a part of that. Having our staff perform. So after we've identified, you like to sing? Don't tell me that. See, once they tell me that, I'm making notes all the time. I may not have a notepad in my hand, but I'm always making notes. So we have a science teacher who plays the guitar. We have an ESL teacher who sings and plays the guitar. We have drummers. We have a paraprofessional who's a professional dancer. And I'll talk later, when we're looking at staffing, how I kind of look for things that people can bring to the table that can enhance this movement of what we're trying to do. We saw a decreased number of discipline issues once we instituted the arts. And once we instituted arts trips and arts incentives, because in order for you to be a part of what we're trying to do, you need to be on point with these other things. And so then you're like, wait, we're going to, like this year we went to the hip hop nutcracker, but then we also went to the regular nutcracker. And the kids are like, I want to go, how can I go? And we're talking about my entire basketball team, my boys basketball team will go to basketball practice and then come to dance practice. It was amazing. And that's what we wanted to encourage. I'll talk a little later about my special needs population, how it's really opened them up, and how, people in class, sometimes the teacher would say, this kid can't follow directions, he only can do one thing at a time, he's not focused, and then you watch them on stage. I think of this one kid, I won't say his name, but how when we had the first show that first year, everyone was like, oh my gosh, that was such a good show. I'm crying. They're like, what's wrong with you? I said, you don't know the personal stories of all of these kids, the challenges that they've had. And they're up there doing choreography. And they're managing the backstage area. And they're helping with the set design. Don't tell me what they can't do in class. They can do it. You're just boring them to death. You got to find a way to wake them up. If you could bring some of this into your classroom, you see what they can do. And I remember this one kid in particular because he was a mess, God bless him. But when I watched him on stage and I watched his intensity and his intentionality and his willingness to just be up there, and he was so happy. And afterwards, how we gave him high fives in the hallway, he was just beside himself. You know what? You did an awesome job. You were so amazing. He said, yeah, I was. You really were. And he beamed for the rest of the year. And that's what it's all about, really. It's using the funds, using the creativity, using the resources, the people, and what they bring to the table as a means for this great development of creativity. And we're talking about the whole child, right? So we forget about the whole child because, yes, we have all this testing, all these requirements and this assessment. You got to have this. Miss Hill, I don't have time to sing with these kids. I don't have time to give them dance. They need to learn this for this test. I said, well, some of the things that they learn here are actually transferable. But you have to see it and you have to believe that. And then you have to push that. So those of you who are administrators, like, you don't think that the arts are the fluffy things. The arts is hard work. It's discipline, it's commitment, it's focus. And that's really what needs to happen in the classroom. I don't want to go in and see dead bodies. I don't want to see people going through the motions. We're not training robots. We're training thinking, feeling individuals who should be able to use some of these art skills to move through life, right? So when I get students sent to me for discipline, the kids hate coming to me because I'm so goofy. You know what? You be the teacher and I'll be you, based on what you just said. And we role play. And I go, wait, no, start the scene again. This time, I want you to lose the attitude and I want you to just give me the facts. And they're like, oh my gosh, Miss Hill, you played too much. I'm not playing. I really want you to understand that I'm going to be really extra in my interpretation of you and the teacher. And afterwards, we talk about it. Do you understand that now? Oh, I see how she might have been upset about it. So we're building empathy, right? We're learning how to care and feel about others and learning about the consequences of our actions. All of that through acting, through role playing. You don't have to call it acting. You don't have to announce that you're doing something in the arts. You just do it. And it just helps move everything. I brought one of my teachers here with me, Diana Deneen. She's the head of my creative leadership team. So that's one of the teams I formed in the building to kind of help move the vision forward, because I can't do it all and I don't want to. I want everybody to be a part of it, and everybody brings these amazing ideas to the table. And we just had one of our, we call it Genius Hour. And that's really about every student is a genius in something. And so during Genius Hour, we've allowed the students to pick as much as possible different sessions that they could attend that's has arts integration in all of it throughout the whole school. We run a reduced day schedule, and then for the rest of the day, they go to these workshops that are focused on content area and integrate the arts. The teachers have elected what they will bring to the table. You know what? I'm musically inclined. I would like to do this. And then the students can pick that course or they can pick another course. So we just had one. I want, Ms. Denise, if you could just talk just for a second about the value.
We just had one.
Come on.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't clear that.
I wander around like Miss Ella.
No, you're not mic'd. Sorry. I'll move out of your way.
So our most recent Genius Hour, we have an all-encompassing event that will be happening in April, arts integration event, and it's going to be called the Night at the Hedgepeth Museum. And we thought it would be a good idea to have a framework for everybody to get involved in the arts integration, because teachers get stressed when they're asked to do something new. And, well, what's that going to look like? And how am I going to meet with the specialists? And I don't get this. So we started it off creating a matrix of what everybody was going to be teaching. So we knew our content area. Then we put everybody in grade levels. Then we did speed dating with the specialists. So the specialists walked around to each group with a timer, and then the groups, in thinking about what they wanted to do for their exhibit, could ask the dance teacher, well, what could you bring? How could we do this if we want to do music? Oh, the drama teacher, what if we want to do a skit? You know, what would we need? What kind of ideas do you have? And then they're having conversations, timer goes off, they go on to the next grade level. And in doing this, also, both sides understand that they're collaborating. It's a team. It's legit. I sound like one of the kids. Arts integration, where there's evolving skills in both areas. And so we have 3 Genius Hours to prepare for this, and then it's showtime. And everybody's getting comfortable. At first, it was like, I don't know how this is going to work. Now I'm getting emails, texts. I need material. I need glitter. You need glitter? You know, it's like, do you have any bongos? I saw you with a bongo drum one day. It's like, yeah, I got bongos. What else do you need? And everybody's getting really excited, the kids and the staff. So it's good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you. And so that's where, you know, we talk about the funding, some of those materials that where my local budget was cut. I think this year we had about $40,000 less than we had the previous year. So I'm like, oh. So if I order too much glitter, they're gonna be like, well, what are you doing with the kids for, you know, for the rest of the classes? So that becomes a challenge. So, you know, the title money actually, you know, helps us to really expand and extend what we're trying to do. And we're conscious of the creativity needed to actually make our dream come to fruition. This is Brandon doing his little frame for Genius Hour. The next slide is a lot of kids. So we have like design your own game, there's robotics, there's cultural projects. So there was a variety. It was an amazing sound coming out of the building that day. And I unfortunately was working on the budget, and every time I went, I'm like, I want to go to Genius Hour. I need to go to Genius Hour, because I could hear the drumming upstairs, and when I walked past another classroom, they're all on the computers, and it's beginning to evolve into what we wanted it to be. It's taken us some time, but it's going to take more time, because some people are still like, oh my gosh, this is so, it's like taking training wheels off for somebody for the first time. But we just keep, you know, we're here to support you. If you fall, we will catch you, and we're not going to push you a little bit. I do push a little bit, but not too much. So those are just some of our students on the stage practicing. These are some of our students, former students mixed in with the high school students. So the idea when we talk about college and career readiness is having been at the high school and in that program and knowing that the students would never get to higher level coursework if the first time they ever go into dance or music or drama is in 10th grade, because in Trenton Public Schools, you begin to go to learning academies in 10th grade. Ninth graders are all together in one spot. And then there's a gap there. And then 10th grade, you go to a specialized academy. You can go to STEM, you can go to hotel, restaurant, tourism, business, visual and performing arts, etc. So I said, 10th grade is too late. Like, I'm trying to push down to elementary, where we work with the elementary students. That's the next plan. But right now, I had to move my school so that it could actually feed the high school. And that was part of my argument of why we should be a school of the arts. You don't have anything feeding into the high school, and so you're going to lose them to other places. You're going to lose students to the charter schools or to independent schools or private schools because you don't have anything to offer them to fill the gaps. So I'm very proud to go to the high school show and see some of our former students who have been exposed in our building. By the way, we have a dance teacher, a formal dance teacher, and then that paraprofessional who also teaches dance. He deals with a lot of students that maybe somebody wouldn't want in their class. Let's be honest, right? Some of the challenging behaviors, some of the ones with maybe a different kind of attitude, but that's the student he loves. And that's why we use him, because he can pull those students in. And when you watch the behavior program this year, they performed during our morning meeting, and it was amazing. It was amazing to see them up there dancing. And these are the students that no one believes in, let's be honest. These are the ones that people have given up on. And I'm saying we've got to find something to save these students. These are somebody's children. They have gifts, and when you talk to them one-on-one, they're so amazing. The challenge is when they all get together, right? But individually, they're incredible. And so I wanted to play the video, but because it was from a cell phone, it wouldn't have played well. But I have it on my phone, and I watch it often when they're working my nerves, and I have to remind myself that they're capable of doing great things. And so we stay focused and try to include them in as many activities as possible. These are some of Miss Denine's students. She teaches social studies for bilingual students. And so I actually took this picture. I was, doing a walkthrough, and the students explained to me what they were working on, and they were so intense. And for us, this is exceptional because when the program first came into our school last year, we didn't have a clue. And the head of the program for the district was out on leave. So it was kind of like, here you go, here are these 150 kids, do something with them. We're like, what? What do we do? So again, our creativity had to kick in, and we fought all year and figured things out, and we tuned and tried and went back to the drawing board, and by the end of the year, had them in a good place where this year, it is so amazing to watch them, and it is so rewarding when you see the growth in them, and their language acquisition, by the way, right? So, through the arts,
Yes, and if I can say something.
you can.
They're going to give you a mic.
Oh, okay. That slide that we just saw, that student, I teach social studies. You have to do some research and write sometimes, and we were doing a unit on Africa, and he became enamored with the rainforest, one of the rainforests in Africa. And I'm like, well, you got to do your research and your paper, to show me what you learned about Africa. And he's like, oh, miss, I do this first. This is the work. This is me showing you what I know. And the details, he stole my glue gun. But he was very safe with it, and the details of that rainforest, it had all the elements of an African rainforest. And he did write me a paragraph like this big, but he demonstrated through the art that he knew what was entailed in the rainforest in this part of Africa, and the ecosystem, and the kinds of rocks, and just everything. And it was I was blown away by it.
And that's the goal, isn't it? That they can demonstrate proficiency and mastery. I think we get so caught up sometimes in like, well, this assignment was due yesterday, and they were supposed to give it yesterday, and I'm going to take 50% off. Like, wait a minute. The goal is proficiency and mastery. Can they do it again? Can they do it differently? I don't remember firing anybody the last time they didn't hand in their lesson plan on time. We got to take our teacher tests multiple times, right? To be an airline pilot, you can take your test multiple times. You don't get half credit, right? You don't get half, you get full credit. So we're so like, this kid must pass my test, they must hand this in. But that is what we're going for, because that student will never forget about the African rainforest. They will forget about our tests right after they take them. This was a Black History performance where we incorporated the art and media and dance and every genre of the arts, and using it as a social vehicle. You know, you want them to be aware of things going on in the world and to be able to use the arts as a mechanism to express how they feel about things, how they view things, or how they want things to be is important. So let's talk about external school support in the arts. It takes a village. Partnerships. Because even with the title money and with your local budget, you are going to need other things if you've got big dreams like I do. So the good thing is I never take no for an answer. And I'm always like, okay, they said no, but that doesn't really mean no. So how, you know, it goes in and out. It could be a blessing and a curse. So we looked for partners and how we could advance our arts vision without having all of the necessary resources. Some of the partners that we established, that first year back at the school, so I found out the previous years they had had no trips, no clubs, no activities. They had like one dance. I said, well, I wouldn't come to school either. No, I probably would. I was a nerd, but if I was not, I would not come to school. There's nothing engaging about school right now if I'm not interested, it just inherently. So we teamed up with the National Museum of African American History and Culture in DC. The first year it opened up, I got 500 tickets. And it was a labor of love. I had my whole family on the phone. You could only get like 3 tickets at a time, 4 tickets. So I'm like, everyone, at 9 o'clock, you must get on the phone and you must call. So I was on my office phone, my cell phone, and my computer. And every time they said no, I would just go back into one of the others. And then finally my mom pulled off the big one. She texted me, all right, I'm on the phone with the guy. Could you use 250 tickets? I said, well, if you get 250, get 500. And she said, I'll try, I don't know. And so we got that. We didn't have funds to get there. So now that was the next one. How do we do this? So we got creative again. We sold everything but the brown on my hand to get buses. We had a fleet of buses. Our entire street was full of charter buses that day. It was an amazing day. We took 487 students to DC, most of which this was their first time ever going. They were so happy with the buses. I said, I could have just rode them around Trenton. Oh my gosh, there's a bathroom on here, there's a TV, what? I was like, we could have saved a lot of money, but I wanted them to have this experience. And I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of kids to take to DC. But we're going to do this. It was very well planned and orchestrated, and we had teams of people. And the students were so appreciative, and they were so amazing there. And, of course, I have to go to the museum again because I'm watching like, okay, now, making sure, please don't touch anything. Please don't break anything. But it was a great day. And so then we became a poster presentation school for them. I said, okay, we have to do more. We may not ever be able to do this trip again because that was like a labor of love, but we're going to be a poster presentation school. So they send you a set of posters from the museum, and you have 1 year to just show them to the public in whatever way you want. And they have to be hung like a specific exhibit and inches apart and from the floor, etc. Well, we decided to bring the posters to life. So there's a picture later on that you'll see where we actually had a museum on the stage, and then we had characters come to life from the posters, and as you hit different segments, we would, I'm a performer, so I couldn't just do posters. I was like, posters? It's like 10 minutes or like 15 posters, you walk by and that's it. I couldn't live with that. So McCarter Theater has been one of our supporters. We work very closely with them to get workshops. They come on site and work with our students. I just attended a full day Saturday 2 weeks ago at McCarter, watching a play and having some really deep discussion on the content. Making connections to support what you don't have in either your general budget or your general funds or your title funds is really a key to making this all work. And so again, if you keep the attitude of there's no for an answer, then you will always be able to knock on doors. The Metropolitan Opera, thank you, Wendy, has helped us to work with that. It's been a fight every year because sometimes the district doesn't understand what we're trying to do. And so on the part of the school district and the school's part, we hand in the paperwork and then it gets lost. And then one year they couldn't find it. We resubmitted it maybe 3 times. And finally I was like, you know what? We'll just raise the money because I'm not going to burn this bridge. I'm not going to mess up this relationship, because how amazing is it to say that these little black and brown children from Trenton, New Jersey are partnered with the Metropolitan Opera in New York. Every year there's a trip. We go and watch one of their final dress rehearsals. They come on site and do workshops with our teachers and our students, and then we have some culminating performance. So I'm not willing to let that go. So I keep fighting for it and begging, please don't give up on us. I'm going to find a way to make it happen. Young Audiences New Jersey has been very helpful. They have scholarships, and so we're allowed to pick from a catalog. If you're not familiar with it, you pick from a catalog of artists and workshops, and they give you a certain budget. Okay, you have $5,000, and you just go shopping in the catalog, and you arrange for these arts experiences to happen in your school. So that's been very helpful to us. Last year, we took on Crayola for the first time. So they have been an amazing addition to our arsenal of partners because they bring on-site PD. We did take a tour of the facility. We did get supplies and materials. And then in addition to that, Ms. Deneen and I actually wrote a grant in like 2 days. I found out about it in the summer, and they're like, oh, but it's due in 2 days. I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, we can do this. And so I text her, we're like, all right, this is crazy, but we're going to try to do it. And we actually got it. So I feel like we have enough, we've been doing this enough right now, even though it's only year 2, that we have figured some things out. And then we have guest artist series. One of the guest artist series is from the high school. So we bring over every art genre from the high school, the students from the high school, so that our students can see themselves, how they're going to be in the future. And that doesn't really cost us anything but the bus. And most of the time, they don't even take us up on it. So that's amazing. That gives us 5 opportunities for arts exposure. And then we have local artists who bring something amazing. Last year I brought, his name is Red Raw. He does sketchnoting. So if any of you are familiar with sketchnoting, that's kind of how I think anyway. When I take notes, I always have pictures. You know how we yell at kids, stop doodling in your notebook? But for some students, that is an amazing tool for how they remember information. And so we should probably, now if they're drawing something completely inappropriate, that's different. But if they're drawing something related to what you're talking about, leave them alone. Here's one of the trips to the Metropolitan Opera. And you can see how many students, I don't do anything small if I can help it. It's only when I get stopped. But I always try for maximum. Some of the staff in training with Crayola on site. And I select teachers. First I find out who's interested. But then some people I enlist. I go, hey, you know what? I see your sweater, you're all artsy and stuff, and you don't you sing? You do something? I think you'd be great for this Crayola workshop. Think about it, don't give me an answer right now, and then I just leave it alone. I walk away, and I do that with a couple of people because I'm trying to get people out of their comfort zones. Some people are like, oh no, Miss Hill, I'm not artistic. But then when you watch them in these workshops and they begin to open up and they begin to play, some of it is just play. We forget what it's like to discover. and just to learn something new and to be excited about it, because we don't have time in our classrooms, right? We have to get this done, and it has to be done a certain way, and it has to be done by this time, and it needs to look like this. But here, it needs to look however you want it to look. And you can, what did Dale say? Any road, right? Any road. As long as you get to the end result and to the outcome, you need to let it happen. Some more. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's an old African proverb, and I believe in that. So, the teachers who stay in their rooms by themselves, and they don't want to come out, and they, hope nobody sees me. I'm just going to teach. I'm going to leave. I try to get those doors open, and I don't have to be the one. I'll use you to do that. I'll use her to do that. I'll use you to do that, because for me, it does not matter how you get there. It's that you get there. I'm not so full of myself that it has to be from me. I really don't care how it happens, as long as it happens. And so you've got social studies teacher, art teacher, ESL teacher, math teacher, social studies, special ed, resource, gen ed, 6th grade. So once you get them all in the room, it's contagious. That's the good thing. So let's talk about, so that's some of the PD, how we extend their skills or their strategies and their success in those things by using the arts. So we talked about arts integration, professional development, and that's for all staff. Some of my staff meetings, I don't use my staff meetings for housekeeping. I can send you that on a piece of paper or an email. The staff meetings should be meaningful, and sometimes they're fun, and sometimes they're really different. Sometimes they're up out of their chairs, they're not sitting down, they're moving around, and they're becoming animals. I'll bring somebody in, and at first they're like, oh my gosh. And I've warned them in the beginning, if this may not be the place for you, because we're going to do things differently, and how you learn and how you embody this information. I don't want to be a hypocrite and lecture to you the whole time. You need to be able to experience what we're talking about. So they get up out of their seats. Well, put your pens down, put your phones away, get up out your seat. And that's how we've been working to get people out of their comfort zone, to shake them up a little bit. The creative leadership team is able to turn key strategies. Sometimes I let them, they lead the meeting. I sit back and I just learn from them, because they're going to take information, my staff will take information better from some other colleagues. If you see that it's working and you've been able to do it and they're invested in it, then you're more likely to participate. So through our grant, we've been able to do our arts integration. We have a huge grant from the Princeton Area Community Foundation supporting our arts integration initiative, but with the main goal being a reduction in chronic absenteeism. That also includes an on-site person from LAUDEF, the Latin American Legal Defense and Education Fund, because right now we have about 63% of our school is from Latino countries, and they speak Spanish. So we were trying to find ways to keep those students engaged in school. And, sometimes they go to their country at different times of the year, and they stay for a week or two at a time. There goes your chronic absenteeism, right? So we tried to find ways, or they get pulled out to be translators for their parents. So we're looking for ways to keep them in school. So LAUDEF actually offers programs. They can do translation services, go to medical appointments, help with immigration, all of those things. Like when things are going on in the country that scare people, then our students won't come to school. So we had to find ways to keep communicating with them and keep the lines of communication open, that you need to be here, and this is one of the safest places for you to be. And learning together, which is a key. We make mistakes. I laugh at myself. Sometimes I don't take myself too seriously, because when you do that, sometimes you don't allow, your staff to see you as human. I am human. I am a little bit crazy, but I am human. So the effects on the school staff attainment. So when I'm staffing, this is what I'm looking for. People willing, these are actual people in the school. That's my secretary in the tiger outfit. That's our mascot. Our mascot is Tiger. So, I look for people who can enhance the goal. So when I'm in an interview, I always ask a question at the end. So there's a set of questions from the district, and then if you want to deviate from that, you have to ask the same question of everyone. So I ask the same question. What is your interest in, or involvement in the arts? Just a really simple, basic question, not a requirement, but I just want to know. And I had one person, I can't say too much for confidentiality, but during the interview I asked that question and he said, well, I'm a DJ and I sing a little bit. So my vice principal says, okay, well, let's hear something. Now we're just playing around. We didn't think he was going to actually do it. And he goes, wait a minute. So he's about 6'5", big dude from the Bronx. And he goes, okay, I got something for you, Miss Hill. My love, there's only you in my life. He sings Endless Love. I'm on the floor. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. So then I come in with the second verse. It's like one of the craziest interviews you'd ever see, right? No, it got crazier because then he got up and did skits. He did like 6 different character voices. He would turn. He was having a conversation between all these characters. It was like De Niro and Pacino and some. It was amazing. I'm like, okay, I need him on my staff. Because someone who's not afraid to take risks. And that's really what all this is about. Because people will look at you like you're crazy when you're trying to get the arts. They know the arts is important. The arts, this is content. This is the same level as English. And people are like, no, it's not. It's not tested, therefore it's not important. And you have to be willing to stand up, no matter how crazy you look, and say, no, it is, and this is why, and this is what we're going to do, and I'll show you better than I can tell you. So I want risk takers. I want people who are not afraid to go outside the box. I'm not looking for cookie cutter teachers. Be whoever you are, whatever your role is in the school. I want you to bring that person to work every day so that you can help my students. Ultimately, remember, the goal is for student achievement, right? And that's Dawn Kelly. She used to dance for Alvin Ailey. She's an ESL teacher. I don't know if you can see the words on it, but it says gifted. That was her Christmas outfit. One of her 5 Christmas outfits. Yeah, no, really. So, yeah, the staffing is a key to moving this. Expanded community engagement, social skills, and advocacy. So we talked about social-emotional learning and how you can use the arts to help students figure out who they are. That's a big deal. So you include in your plans opportunities to welcome families in the community. Obviously, the shows are going to bring people in, but you also want to be able to open doors for other conversations. What else do you need from me? How can I do that? How can you be a part of it? So when we did the trip to DC, we had one special bus. It's called the VIP bus. It's very important partners. And I invited parents. I invited community partners. I invited whoever I thought had helped our school to become what we were trying to become. And they rode on that bus. You don't have to be bothered with the kids. We got our other people. We're over here. But on this bus, you're important. You got water, you got snacks, and you're a part of this whole thing. And some people are still talking about that, adults, because some of them had not been outside of the area. You're talking about Trenton is 7.8 square miles, something like that. And a lot of our students haven't been to Pennsylvania. They haven't been to New York City. They haven't been on a train. So we're talking about creating experiences. And if the arts can be a vehicle for those experiences, that exposure, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm always trying to think, well, what's next? What can I show them so that they think that the world is bigger than this? Trenton is this big, but the world is this big, and I want them to see as much of it as I can with the resources that I have. Campaign is if you're running for office. Everyone in the neighborhood knows me. The lady down the street, she's an older lady. She's got my cell phone number. And she's like, Miss Hill, there's somebody playing on the playground. It's like 6 o'clock at night. I'm like, okay. I don't really care if they're playing on the playground, but I appreciate the fact that she is concerned about that. And then some people at the barbershop on the kids' route home, some of them, they call me because I'll get in my car. I do drive-bys. I'll come and scoop them up. Accept external feedback. Listen to your stakeholders. We talked a lot about stakeholder involvement. Listen to them. They have a lot to say. And sometimes they bring to the table things you haven't thought about or something that you can expand on, an idea that someone has. And that sometimes someone will say something and be like, oh, you know what? We can't do this whole thing, but we could do this. Or we could tag this onto that. Or we could have you come in and be a part of this. And accept external services if they align with your goals. So once you start succeeding, once we were on our way out of status, people are knocking on the door. Hey, I want to come to Hedgepeth. I got this great program. I got this great product. I got these great books. I got these things that you need to be. I'm like, wait a minute. Can you do this, this, or this? Well, no. We had one program. They said, well, I kind of freestyle. I'm going to do a mentoring program, but I kind of freestyle. No, where are your topics? Well, I don't really have it. I kind of built. No. This is what my students need. They need this. They need this, and they need this. Can you tailor your program to fit what I need? Well, no, that's not really, okay, sorry. Thank you, but that's not going to work for us right now because it's not going to advance the goal, and everything we do has to be towards our goal, right? So I don't waste my time with people who can't help us get there because that's not what we need. And create a welcoming environment. One of the things we did when we first got there was change the environment. The lockers are all orange. You walk in, and it feels like light. When I first came back to the school, I felt like someone had dropped a bomb in there. I was like, what happened? Like, I literally thought the lights something was wrong. I had the custodial team scrub out the plastic part of the lights and put new bulbs in, and because we had to brighten up the place. And so now when people walk in, they're like, this feels like a different school. I said it should, but it has to do with the love, the people inside, and how they care about the students and their commitment. And that's the difference. And support the families. So if you can't support the families, you can't really support the students. You can create all these great programs, and you can have great conversations, and you can, I don't know, they could think the world of you, but if you can't help the families, if I don't have food, if I don't have shelter, if I don't have lights on, if I don't have a coat, all of this is for what? So it's fun while I'm here, but then I go to the shelter after school. So you got to always, try to find out how you can help in other ways. We just started an ESL class for parents as part of our Allow Deaf grant, our grant with Princeton Area Community Foundation to help the parents so they can help the students. And we give coats, and we give Thanksgiving baskets, and we do all of those things so that ultimately our students can be well. So I talked earlier about the social part of it. This was, there was an art installation that our students did for the students of Parkland. And there was a chair representing every single person who was a victim that day. And the entire school lined up the halls, and we held hands up the stairwells, down the hall. And there were posters that they made and things that they had to say. And I wanted them to know that we're all connected. So it wasn't our school, but it is our school. And so sometimes our kids are desensitized to violence things because they see it a lot. But you're part of this bigger picture. And we use the art so that it wasn't like a day of everybody just walking around crying, but they were able to express how they felt about it through the art. This is a picture from the Hip Hop Nutcracker. Recently we had world famous conductor Gustavo Dudamel come to our school and conduct the Trenton High Orchestra and have some of our students perform, and some of our former students are in there, and it was an amazing day. Like, they'll never be able to get an experience like that again. But just looking for those opportunities and using your title funds to help you do things like this. That's New Brunswick, Metropolitan Opera. And then this is the end. I've been given my Sandman. Spend wisely. Purchase only goods and services that you need and that are aligned to your goals. Base your purchases on the priority needs and not your wants. I want a lot of things, but I'm clear that my goals will govern how I spend my money. And select resources that will help to advance your goals, and always supplement versus supplant, right? And that's Udelki. Very quiet, introverted young lady who is an amazing artist. She's at the high school now, but she still comes back every week to work with our art teacher. So we're talking about building lasting connections with adults. Okay, so any questions? It's warm in here, right? So thank you for staying with me. It's hot. My hair will be poofing up in a minute, but all right, so hopefully I'm exiting to some applause. Thank you.
Told you she was a rock star, right? Amazing transformation of that particular building. And I think that, while they ended up being a school that was centered around the arts, if you look at all the different attributes that they were hitting on regarding, the different attributes within ESSA, any one of those, you take a look at what they've done, that's something you can pull that piece out and say, how can I take that and apply it to what I do? You don't have to do everything. You don't have to turn yourself into a school of the arts, but there are individual lessons within each of the things that Adrian hit on. So, hopefully she'll stay with us a little bit, and we may be able to do a little Q&A toward the end of the day, unless she has to race out to take care of her kids. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll do a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll come back in and have our final session. And then following Dave's presentation, then we're going to have some Q&A with both Dave and Adrian. So if there are any questions that you want to have for the two of them, we'll be able to address them then. So 10 minutes, about 5 of.